Hello, plant enthusiasts, and what a great day to be out looking at plants at Soledad Canyon. This is one of my favorite spots, so I thought we would take another tour and let's go look at some plants. We're going to start this virtual field tour off with a grass. In fact, we're going to cover 5 grasses today. And this first one, Citeria leucopila, is plains or streambed bristlegrass. It's a very common species. You'll see as soon as you get outside of the parking lot. And it's really prolific in the arroyo areas. Definitely likes a little bit more moisture. It's in the family Poaceae. And Citeria, the word Citeria comes from the Latin seta, which is referring to bristle. And specifically it's referring to the bristles on the individual spikelets. And leucopila is from the Greek leukos, which translates into white ball. Streambed bristlegrass is a perennial grass that's native to the United States, and it has a tufted growth form, which means that it grows in bunches or is referred to as a bunch grass. In this photo, you have an individual culm of bristlegrass, and as we zoom in, those long hair-like appendages are bristles. Often when we see that on grasses at first glance, we may think it's an awn, but we'll take a closer look at this. In this photo, you can see an individual spikelet, and right below the spikelets are the purplish appendages that are the bristles. If it was an awn, often it would be coming directly off of the spikelet itself. The inflorescence is not open, rather it's a contracted panicle. It does have very, very short branches, but for all intents and purposes, when you look at it, it is spike-like. And here's another photo that's illustrating those bristle-like features and the round spikelets. The next species we'll cover is another perennial native grass called Bouteloua curtipendula, or sideoats grama. And so again, because this is a grass, it's in the Poaceae family. And the word Bouteloua comes from 2 Spanish brothers who are also gardeners who represent Bouteloua, and then curtipendula means, or is translated into short pendant. And that refers to the inflorescence branches, which are very short, as we will see here in upcoming photos. Sideoats grama can occur in many different habitat types, and it's hard to capture what a lot of these grasses look like in either photo or video, but this gives you a good sense. It almost looks like a bunch grass. It does have very short rhizomes, and what we're looking at here is one of the individual culms with those short. So as we saw in that video, it may look like sideoats grama is another bunch grass species, and often that is how we will see it growing, but it does have short rhizomes, and so in some instances you can see it in a much larger mat. It occurs in many different habitat types, so you can expect to find it in many locations. And in this photo, you see one reproductive culm that has numerous inflorescence branches. So each one of those small pendant-like features is an inflorescence branch which contains multiple spikelets. One of my favorite things about sideoats grama is that when you take a close look at the inflorescence branches, and if they're in anthesis, which is the term that we use when they're in a reproductive state, and the anthers, which are shown here very salmon in color, because they're pollinating right now, and grasses are wind pollinated, those anthers will hang outside of the individual spikelets, and those feathery white objects that you see are the stigma, which would capture pollen from other plants. Now, grasses are wind pollinated, so they have that strategy where those anthers are very large and they're hanging outside of the plant. The blades of sideoats grama have fairly long hairs, and at the base of those hairs, they're round and are called pustulate. So they have a bulbous-like base, and the ligule, a feature that is very helpful for vegetative identification, as shown here, is membranous, although it has toothed, so it's a short membrane. Bothriocloa, barbanotis, cane bluestem is our third grass of this virtual field trip, and the genus Bothriocloa is from Greek bothrion, which translates into little furrow or pit, and chola, which is grass. And this is specifically referring to a distinctive groove in the joints and the pedicels of the plant. And the specific epithet, barbanoides, translates into bearded at the joints or the nodes, which is quite obvious in this species. Cane bluestem is a native tufted species or bunch grass, which has distinctive inflorescences. As you can see in this photo from a distance, they look very cottony, and that's due to the numerous hairs as well as awns that we'll take a look at close up. Here we have a single inflorescence from one reproductive culm, which has numerous inflorescence branches. The long hair-like feature that you can see that is coming off at bent angles, often 90-degree angles, those are awns that are coming from the lemma of individual spikelets, and the white, very hairy features are, in fact, hairs that are associated with the individual spikelets. One interesting feature about this plant is that the fruits are newly formed caryopses. When they are still fresh, they often smell or taste like blueberries, and if you don't want to put it in your mouth, you can crush it with your fingers, and if it's fresh again, it'll smell like a blueberry. Leptocaloa dubia, or green sprangletop, is another species in the Poaceae. It's a native perennial grass, and leptocaloa comes from the Greek leptos, which translates into slender, and chola, which is grass. Dubia comes from dubious, or referring to the uncharacteristic nature of this grass. Now, even though some people consider it uncharacteristic, I think that, especially if you have a reproductive tiller in hand, the inflorescence is recognizable for sure. To prove that some people's assertion that this is a dubious species having dubious characteristics, this photo shows Leptocaloa intermixed with several other plants. Now, let's take a look at it when we just grab one reproductive tiller. This is an individual reproductive culm where we're looking at the inflorescence of green sprangletop. And there can be numerous branches, like shown here, and the spikelets, as they're arranged on an individual inflorescence branch, they're racemose, so they have a small pedicel, and then the spikelet is attached directly to each of those primary branches. Green sprangletop is a large grass ranging from about 40 to 150 centimeters, and It ends up being a desirable species as it has pretty good forage quality. Aristida turnipes, or spider threon, also known as spider grass, is the last grass species we'll cover in this set of plants. Aristida is from the Greek and it translates into on, and turnipes comes from Latin, which also is referring to the on-like features, which in this case Aristida has 3 ons. Spider threon is a native bunch grass that has a very erect growth form, and its inflorescence is very characteristic in that its panicle branches are very large, and often when they are more mature, they are opened up at approximately 90-degree angles. Here's a close-up photo of an inflorescence, and these inflorescences can be quite large, and in general I found that they're highly variable. But as you zoom into one of the joints of the inflorescence branch where it meets a culm, you'll notice that there's a swollen area, and that's what pushes those branches down, and the term for that is called a pulvini. Here are 2 examples of spikelets from Aristida turnipes, where if you just take the one on the top, we have the 2 glooms, the floret, and the 3 ons that are attached to the individual floret. We're now going to cover a few weedy species that are often found in highly disturbed areas. And the first one of these species is Solanum iliagnifolium, or silverleaf nightshade. This species is in the Solanaceae family, which contains tomatoes and eggplants, and some other species that have some toxic properties, as well as some very prized fruits that we enjoy eating. Solanum is from the Latin solar, which means to relieve or provide comfort. Anum specifically refers to the narcotic properties of some of the species. Iliagnifolium refers to leaves like Iliagnus, which is a genus of Russian olive. Russian olive is actually on our noxious weed plant list, and a species that we'll learn later in the semester. Silverleaf nightshade gets its name from its foliage, which often can be silvery in appearance, which is due to the pubescence that is found on the leaves as well as the stem. A couple of notable things: if you're out in the field and come across a species, you'll notice that the stem as well as other parts of the plant have these prickles on them, and interestingly enough, this is a widespread species in the southwest or more arid regions. You find more of the prickly stems, whereas in other areas that it grows in more humid regions, you do not have that. The flowers are very showy and purple. If you collect this species, you'll realize that those petals are really thin and tend to degrade pretty easy. This is a perennial species that does have rhizomes, and the fruits do look like small tomatoes. Early in the growing season, they are green and they develop color upon maturity. This species is toxic, but from an ethnobotanical standpoint, it was used in the Southwest for treating ailments such as ear, nose, and throat ailments and eye infections and toothaches. Grandelia squarrosa, or curlycup gumweed, is in the Asteraceae family, and Grandelia is named for a pharmacologist and physician, David Grandel, and squarrosa is referring to the bracts and the filaries, which have a curving tip. Curlycup gumweed is a perennial forb that is often biennial, which means it's a short-lived perennial. It gets its name because its leaves have a resinous substance on it, which gives it a gummy feel. Because the leaves have that resin on them, they often have a bit of a shiny appearance. And the leaves in this species are clasping the stem, so they don't have a petiole. A notable feature for identification is the filaries, which occur in series of 5 to 6 and have that recurved tip. That area also has the resin in it as well, so it'll take on that shiny appearance. This species is also used in ethnobotany to treat coughs, colds, and other digestive ailments. Another species that's commonly found in disturbed areas is Chenopodium, and with this, we're only going to go to species and not cover a specific genus or genera. When we refer to Chenopodium species, the common name for them is goosefoot, and it's in the Chenopodiaceae family, and some more recent classifications have it in the Amaranthaceae family. Chenopodium is a word that comes from the Greek, with chen meaning goose and podus meaning foot, which is referring to the shape of the leaves. The Chenopodiaceae family, especially in New Mexico, has some of our more notorious weeds, as well as some very valuable species that are highly prized for wildlife habitat, as well as forage for livestock. Today, with the species that we are looking at, we're referring to the annual forb that, again, typically is found in highly disturbed areas in rangeland and then also in crop areas. This is a common weed. The annual lamb's quarter or goosefoot has high variation in the leaves, but typically have shapes that are shown in this photo. The flowers are very small, and at first glance they seem to be fairly nondescript and appear in general as small balls. We'll now cover a couple of the woody plants that are found in this area. A common species found in the arroyos and other locations as you move towards the uplands is Brickellia lacinata, or splitleaf brickellbush. This is a species in the Asteraceae family, and Brickellia is named after a physician, and lacinata has a translation of divided into narrow lobes, which is referring specifically to the leaves of this species. We typically see this shrub at a height of about 1/2 meter to 1.5 meters. It has multiple stems, and the branches have dense coverings of the leaves, which are pretty highly lobed. The leaves are alternate in arrangement and are glandular, so they appear to have dots and they're shiny in appearance. The next species we'll cover is a small subshrub that is often overlooked in many areas in the Southwest, as it's very small and is not necessarily remarkable when it's outside of its flowering period, which is absolutely gorgeous and something that makes people stop. So Dahlia formosa is in the Fabaceae family, and the common name for this species is featherplume. Dahlia is named after a botanist, and formosa means finely formed, handsome, or beautiful. This photo provides good perspective of how small the leaves and individual leaflets are. It's in the Fabaceae family, so in this example it's pinnately compound with an alternate leaf arrangement. Here is a closer view of some of those leaves and leaflets, and when you look at the flower you can see why the species is often overlooked if it's not currently in flower. The flowers are purple to pink in color and are similar to those that you find in other species within the Fabaceae family, being irregular in appearance. The fruits are small pods and are hairy in appearance. This species is typically found in shallow rocky soils. We're going to cover one cactus this virtual field trip, Opuntia engelmanii. The common name for this species is either cactus apple or Engelman's prickly pear. It's in the Cactaceae family, and Opuntia originates from the Latin root puncti, and that means prickled. Even though the species does not have prickles, it has spines. And then Engelmanii is named after a botanical collector. There are several different Opuntia species in the Southwest. This one is a large shrub-like cactus with fairly large pads that are fairly round in appearance. Flowers of this species are yellow to cream colored in appearance and are fairly large. This species is used for a variety of things. The fruits are referred to as tunas, and they are eaten by humans and animals. They also are used to make a red dye. The pads are used as a food source, nopalitos, with the spines removed, of course. So here we're getting closer to the Box Canyon, where the little waterfall will periodically flow when we have adequate precipitation. But this short hike shows a very nice gradient of plants that you expect for this area. Changes over a short distance, and when I flip the camera around, we get a chance to see that declining slope all the way down to the historic Rio Grande Valley. So let's check that out. The next species we're going to cover is a new one for me that I overlooked in previous years because I didn't see it when it was flowering or fruiting. But the genus is Unnadia. The specific epithet is speciosa. This is Mexican buckeye in the Sapindiaceae family. Another species occurs in this area, soapberry, which is also in that family. And this species is the only one in this genus. This species occurs as a shrub or small tree, and its leaves are deciduous and pinnately compound. The fruit is a capsule, and when it dehisces, each compartment has one hard nut. And this species is toxic, so it's not often browsed by livestock or other ungulates. But when it's flowering, the leaves attract, or the flowers attract a lot of pollinators, and therefore they are valuable honey production species. Again, this species has compound leaves with an alternate leaf arrangement. And the venation, this is a deciduous species, and the venation is strongly reticulate. The next shrub we'll cover is Parthenium incanum, which is in the Asteraceae family, and the common name is Mariola. Parthenium is from the Greek meaning virginal or pure, and that's specifically referring to the white flowers, and incanum means grayish or hoary in appearance. Mariola is a small to medium-sized shrub with tomentose leaves that are alternate, so tomentose meaning hairy, and it's in the Asteraceae family, so aster flowers, which are often small but attract a lot of pollen. Here's a close-up of one of the leaves that are very tomentose and highly divided. And here's a close-up of one of the flowers that's white with very small ray flowers. The last shrub we'll cover is Ericameria labricifolia, or turpentine bush, which is in the Asteraceae family. The genus refers to its appearance being heath-like or similar to a broom, and also bitter, which it's bitter in taste. As the name implies, turpentine bush, it smells strongly like turpentine. Labricifolia means having leaves like a larch. The leaves of turpentine bush are shiny in appearance because of the amount of resin that is found on the leaves. You never know what kind of cool critters you'll find along the way. The last species we'll cover is a perennial forb Sphaeralcia incana, and that's gray globemallow in the Malvaceae family. Straußia is from a Greek word that refers to globe in the hollyhock genus, and incana means white pubescence or covered in a white pubescence.
Anyway, so
the leaves are very soft to the feel and look hairy, but when you look very closely, especially with a hand lens, the hairs are stellate, meaning that they come out in a star-shaped fashion. The flower has 5 sepals, which are united at the base, and 5 petals. The color is somewhere between a pink and a red, giving more of an orange appearance.